Hello fellow FPL managers and welcome to a Game Week 17 preview with a little review of Game Week 16. So it's been thick and fast, the Game Week action in the last couple of game weeks. And well, I kind of was saved in the end. I ended up on 52 points, which it's not the worst, but considering from I think it was 6 players on Saturday, I had 15 points. It could have been a lot worse. Now, I have just also tweeted out the fact that if you scroll down, you can see now it tells you that the top 4.194 million managers will qualify for the cup, and I believe I am 4.2 million game week rank, but that's fine. We don't care about the cup, we need to focus on the league, and that's what we're going to be doing. But it is another rank drop. We're down to 1.7, so we were kind of doing well in terms of crawling back up. We really felt, you can see, I think that's 2.1 million in game week 5. We really dropped, took it all the way in the top million, and 1.5, 1.6, 1.9, and then from there, from 1.9 we sort of clawed back, you know, 1.6, 1.4, 1.3, 1.2, and then it was that week of the Salah captaincy there that and Jamie Vardy punishing us, that dropped us to 1.6, and then up a little bit again, and then we've dropped again with this 52 point, because it just was another really poor week. And again, I look at it, you can see obviously straight away see Mane on the bench. Mane dropped. A lot of people suffer with that one. He wasn't my vice captain for that game week. You can see it's still Vardy and De Bruyne, but a lot of people who didn't who captained Mane did go straight to that vice captaincy on Jamie Vardy, which obviously hurt. But starting at the back, Pope is in a lot of danger. People are even thinking he might even get dropped this game week. It's kind of like 9 points or 0 at the moment. You can see 9-9-1-1-0. He is on a chopping block. A lot of people keep saying, oh, everyone's going to Guaita at Palace, everyone's going, but I think he's got like 1.8% ownership. So I think the move to Guaita is a really good one, because Crystal Palace have a lovely set of fixtures. Apart from Man City away in game week 23, all the way from 17 to 30 until your second wild card, just keep him in goal and you don't have to worry about him again. I know he's a little bit more expensive. I think it's 5.1 or 5.2 maybe now, but or it could still be 5. But either way, I just feel like that is peace of mind of having a goalkeeper with really good fixtures for that long. Lundstrom, again, a lot of people have started to now talk about Lundstrom. Maybe, you know, you can see he's not done anything since that monster 21-point haul. But let's not forget that this player started at 4 million. I know he's 5.1 now, so would I still buy him at 5.1? That's an interesting question. But the fact that, you know, I've had him since he was, I think, 4.1. He's still a box-to-box midfielder. He still could have got an assist in that last game. Can't remember who it was who missed a chance, but Lundstrom put it on a plate for someone and they missed it. So again, for me, he's still not going anywhere. He's an enabler, so you're not expecting him to get returns every game week. That's not fair for his price point. Willems came from behind. He even tweeted out that, you know, he'd had a poor game, but a lot of the fans sort of backed him up on Twitter, saying, no, you've been one of our players of the seasons. And his price has actually gone up now, I think, to 4.7 million. So it says 4.6 here, but I'm pretty sure now he's risen up to 4.7. And that's pretty good business for me, because I've had him for quite a few weeks, so it's a small profit on him. And again, when I was bringing in players like him, I did have Game Week 18 in mind. And speaking of Game Week 18, and someone who is so surprisingly on the chopping block for me right now is TAA. I know he got subbed he got dropped. So unfortunately, the 2 Liverpool assets that I had, both of them started on the bench. TAA comes on, Liverpool get a clean sheet. He doesn't get the clean sheet point because he didn't start. He didn't do the allotted minutes. So that was another real unfortunate event. Comes on for 1 point, but you can see he does pass the eye test, but it gets to a point where you hold, and his price is going up. He's 7.3 now, but you're holding on to a defender that looks lovely, but just isn't delivering. And for me, I watched the 90 minutes of the Leicester City game again, and just Pereira for that little bit cheaper is just looking so good. TAA does look good, but the difference is Pereira's delivering, and part of me is also thinking, I did a Reddit post, I think it was like Game Week 4, and I basically got laughed out of the FPL Reddit for that post of, hey guys, should we go really cheap at the back and put the money at the forward? And I was like, no, definitely TAA, definitely Robertson, definitely all these players will finish top of the pile at the end of the season. They still could, but you know, by the time you get to that point when they're earning it, you've had TAA, you've had Robertson since Game Week 1, and they've not really been value for money because as much as you expect those attacking returns, you can't rely on a defender to get attacking returns. That's not really the point. So yeah, he got a haul in Game Week 14, and then in Game Week 11, and then he got 6 points. Kelly at Crystal Palace has been picking up 6 points left, right, and centre. So he is on the chopping block a little bit for me there. Dele Alli came in for a nice 9-pointer. Controversial second assist, I know, but I'll take it because as you can see, my squad did nothing. My team did nothing. Traore came on for Mane, so again, that's not Traore's fault. He's not a first starter for me. Mane was dropped. Kevin De Bruyne, I love him. He's a fantastic football player. A lot of people were arguing he's a seasoned keeper, and he's done nothing since. And funnily enough, when I took him out after that injury, and I did want to bring him back as quickly as possible, he's not really done a lot since then. He has scored these 2 goals in Game Week 13 and 14 are still there, but the rest of Man City are looking so unstable right now. And there are, again, cheaper options out there. You might want to spread the load around. And Zaha, the lad who we all knew would come in and give us a bit of a troll, has done exactly that. So we brought him in for Bournemouth, who have a terrible defence, and Watford, who have a terrible defence, and he's done nothing so far. But I am going to pray for patience here, because you can see Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham, Southampton, Norwich. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm not in a rush for that. Tammy Abraham blank, Everton poor. Everton very good. Chelsea poor at Goodison Park on the weekend. Jimenez, I just don't believe that again. His price has dropped. He's 7.5 now. And I just feel so sorry for, well, I don't feel sorry for him. I'm happy because I'm keeping him for at least a couple more game weeks, because he's not doing anything. This is like Callum Wilson at the start of the season, but even worse. You can see 9-9-7-5-2-5. He's only blanked once since Game Week 11. And then if you go back to Game Week 8, he's only blanked twice since Game Week 8. I just feel that's happy for me. He's under 20% ownership now, so I understand people are using him as a jumping up point to go either from Jimenez up to Marcus Rashford, and some people are using him to go back to Tammy Abraham, which is understandable, but I just quite surprised about that lack of ownership, or that plummeting ownership. And Jamie Vardy, he absolutely saved my game week. I know he's highly owned, but I mentioned this on the stream last week, and it's getting to the point where don't think about how many people own them. Don't think about differential captaincies to climb up the ranks. Just give the captain's armband to who you think will score the most goals in that game week. If you thought Mane or Salah was going to do it, that's a fair shout. But I made the mistake a few weeks ago when I didn't choose Jamie Vardy, or I didn't choose, say, Mane or someone, just because I thought, I want to do a differential captaincy pick. I want to claw myself up the rankings. And I never believed that they were going to score the highest points. And that's the point of FPL. I know you're against every other manager, but you're trying to get the most points. So when people say to you, this is template, or people say to you, everyone's captaining him. But, for example, we're going on to this game week now, and he's at home to Norwich. I understand that Liverpool have Watford, but I just cannot look any further than Jamie Vardy going to Norwich. Going at home to Norwich, who are the worst team in the league, at least defensively. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Norwich. And I understand that the previous results over the last few seasons, Liverpool have thumped Watford like 3-0 and 5-0. If you have a look at the history over the last couple of years, I think there's one time Liverpool won 1-0, and then all the others it's like 3-0 or 3 or 5 goals. But let's not forget, Liverpool have a very important Champions League game, which they have to do well in to go through. And let's not forget that Jamie Vardy is the most informed player. He's trying to break his own record, and he'll have a week off. And you're also looking at Liverpool. Are they going to play a full starting 11? They've dropped Salah for 1 week with Firmino. They've dropped Mane the next. They're going to the Club World Championships. Are they going to take that seriously? Are they going to start the starting 11 in that? Are they going to play all the big guns against Watford? It's difficult to say, but just my advice, if there's one big piece from this video, it would be just to make sure you captain just the person that you think is going to score the most points. Having a quick roundup of the action from the weekend. So again, I mentioned before, Everton, big dunk, great job there. Definitely got the passion, and he's standing back saying, I understand I won't get the job. But Chelsea, that's a couple of defeats now. A lot of people are kind of thinking maybe it could be time to jump off a little bit, not too sure. I wouldn't. They've still got good fixtures and very good price. Bournemouth are actually, I feel that Bournemouth are the whipping boys right now, because I just feel as though they concede goals. So 3 goals against Liverpool. They were okay, 1 goal, but Palace are not renowned for that. 3 goals Spurs, 2 goals. It just feels like they're letting in, and I understand they've got a defensive crisis right now. So again, if you're looking at getting off Chelsea assets, considering that they're at home to a Bournemouth side with the likes of Ake looking a bit dodgy, I think he's got a bit of an injury, then that's why I'd be holding on to Chelsea right now. So Spurs 5, Burnley 0. I actually watched 90 minutes of this game instead of the Liverpool game, because as soon as I saw Mane and TAA were benched, I thought, well, why the hell am I going to watch them? I don't want to. I'm going to watch Spurs, see how Dele Alli does. And yeah, they were phenomenal, guys. Like, seriously, I've watched them a couple of times this season, and I didn't catch them against Manchester United, but I saw the other games. I think it was it Southampton that they beat 3-2? Let me just double check. I don't want to be wrong in that. Oh no, sorry, Bournemouth it was 3-2, and West Ham as well. So they did very well there. And then this Burnley game, they came right out the blocks. Burnley didn't know what hit them. Dele Alli looked pretty good. Kane still drops a little bit. I understand Kane had a fantastic game week, but don't forget one of them was an absolute screamer of a goal. But you know, he's not playing that poacher forward, which is great for Spurs as a team. But in terms of an FPL asset, out of the let's say 4 Spurs assets, if you include Lucas Moura, he'd be probably my number 4. But without a shadow of a doubt, guys, Heung-min Son, I think the big problem that I had with him in the past is he was doing like a Sergio Aguero, right? He'd be coming off in 60 minutes or after 70 minutes. Now he's getting basically played for 90 minutes. And I mean, we must have sort of seen that goal by now, where he's just taken on half of Burnley and sliding in the back of the net. But he just looks so good. And Spurs now have a decent run of fixtures after this Wolves game. I don't think Wolves is going to be an easy game. I'm not saying that they're going to go there and win, but Chelsea at home, Chelsea concede. They're looking really shaky at the back. I think Christensen and Zuma looked pretty terrible at the back there. Brighton at home, Norwich away, Southampton away. I think that is a nice run of fixtures. Liverpool at home is not easy, but then again, Watford and Norwich. So you're really just pinpointing here Liverpool at home being a really tough game there. And again, it's at home, anything can happen. But you're kind of looking all the way to game week 24. So why are we sticking with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, who's a little bit deeper? City aren't looking good. Pep Guardiola is coming out saying we can't compete, considering spending, you know, how many hundreds and hundreds of millions in the last few seasons. I watched the Man City game 90 minutes as well, and every time against United, they were just like everything. It was a stonewall penalty. They're complaining. The fans are throwing stuff at them. It's just there's something not going right at City at the minute. People keep saying they're focusing on the Champions League, but they've had probably the easiest group out of all the big teams. And, you know, they've not been setting the world on light as well, So I can just see City going out in like the quarterfinals and then just having a blur rest of the season. So why would you not double or triple up on Spurs right now when Man City, I think a lot of us jumped off Raheem Sterling a few weeks ago, and that's been perfectly fine. So is it time to maybe ditch Kevin De Bruyne? I'll talk about that when we get to this game week with my own team. So having a look as well, Watford 0, Crystal Palace 0. I think that was probably the bookies' odds-on favourite of that score for that kind of game. Watford 0, Palace 0. Pearson versus Roy Hodgson. 2 teams that Arguably, maybe Watford aren't as good as defence, but Palace, if you're getting in the likes of Kelly, or when PVA is back from injury, or Gaeta's in goal, you'll take those boring games because they're your FPL points. Man City won, United 2, so I said United looked really good on the counter-attack. City just... I've said this before, it's perhaps controversial, but it just feels like Guardiola has been found out just a little bit. Now, I don't mean he's a fraud. I just mean that people, now that he's been in the Premier League a few seasons, now it's getting to that stage where clubs can sort of pinpoint weaknesses and, able to frustrate Man City and because they've still got the players. Remember, they won the title last year without Kevin De Bruyne, and they could still, like sharp as a knife through butter, get through teams. Now it feels like they've found a way to kind of stop that Manchester City breakthrough. And that's what United did. They had a very effective counter-attacking football with the pace of Martial, Rashford, and James on the wing as well. And as soon as James improves his end product, he's going to be a pretty good player as well. Villa, Leicester, another 90-minute game I watched earlier. The beautiful thing about Leicester City right now, when you're watching them, ever since you can even look at that 9-0 dub they did against Southampton, is they smell blood, arguably more than any team in the league right now. Liverpool went 2 goals, 3 goals up against Bournemouth, and they coast. They're not pushing it. The contempt with life. They're satisfied. They'll take it. They'll pass it around. They'll play. They'll bring the game tempo down. Leicester City do not stop. They score 1. They scored 2. They were 3-1 up. Everything was fine. They wanted 4. They were 4-1 up. They wanted 5. And that is not just in an FPL asset, but in a football fan, in a football fan way. That's so good to watch. Right at the death, you've got the likes of Harvey Barnes and Maddison and Vardy all really pushing it. Pereira is still playing right wing basically. So Leicester really looks so good right now. And FPL wise, it might be crazy enough to say, well, not crazy enough to say, but tripling up. But if you could triple up on Pereira, Maddison, and Vardy, I think that is an incredible combination. Newcastle 2, Southampton 1 came from behind there. Danny Ings again will not stop scoring. A lot of people brought Danny Ings in when Tammy Abraham got injured, and he's absolutely repaid their faith there. Really great form. Norwich losing the lead there. Sheffield United 2 goals to 1. Defenders on score sheet. Sheffield United still going strong. Brighton 2, Wolves 2, and West Ham 1, Arsenal 3. I wasn't able to catch that because that time of evening for me is too late. I'm in bed, so I'll have to watch the highlights for that. So I don't want to lie and say I know lots of things about it. All I know is that Jimenez and Traore played for me and they did well. And Arsenal did come from behind, and I think they came from behind, but I know they won 3-1. But Pepe and Aubameyang combining together, could that be a little bit of taste into the future? I already made my transfers. And it was KDB out and Heung-min Son in. And this is going to be my team going into the next week. So I'm going to go... let me just change that vice captaincy. I think I'm going to put it on Mane. And yeah, so this is the team going in. So Pope, I've got about 0.5 million in the bank now because Heung-min Son has come in for Kevin De Bruyne. Again, he is a class player, but you just have to look at form and fixtures. And I think it's not forever. KDB can always come back. But you just look at it and think, who do I think is going to score more points the next, say, 4 to 5 game weeks? And I feel that it's going to be Heung-min Son. If him and Ali keep playing, they look just absolutely phenomenal. The rest of the team, again, the worrying thing is I've got a lot of players here against, Watford, Norwich, Bournemouth, my goalkeepers is Newcastle. It just looks like it's a promising game week, but I just know something horrible is going to happen. Like Son and Ali are going to, blank, and Wolves are going to win 1-0, and it's not going to be Jimenez or Traore. I just have that feeling. Zaha's going to blank again, but that's just pretty much the way that it's going to be. So we'll just have a look at the review on last week. So of course, Mane, nothing here. He blanked. when I made the video, it was after that when people started to think, well, hold on, I think Mane's going to get dropped, actually. And he did. Heung-min Son, well, great shout, Heung-min Son in the end, wasn't it? He had 12 points, 1 goal, 1 assist, 1 clean sheet. Fantastic game. Really wonderful performance there from Son. And Jimenez getting an attacking return with that assist for Wolves. Dele Alli, again, like I said, 9 points. He returned. Danny Ings' goal, and Barnes got dropped. But when he came on, I believe he had the biggest underachieving score of the week. When I looked at Fantasy Football Scout of the expected goals and who was under, he was at the top, and he actually came on later on, but he had a really good chance that he blazed over. And after that, he looked like really hungry. So he did actually look like a pretty good player. But would I now waste a Leicester position where I can pick up the likes of Pereira, Sionchu, Tielemans, Maddison, Jamie Vardy, maybe even Iniacho? No, I probably wouldn't go for Barnes right now. But looking into Game Week 17, you can see there's a big yellow card hand right above my head. And that is just to tell people to search and be wary of people with yellow cards, 4 yellow cards. So for example, I do suggest Jack Grealish a little bit later on, but he is on 4 yellow cards, I think. So just as a reminder, I know games are coming thick and fast, but if there's a lot of good players on 4 yellow cards right now, so just be wary, especially with the Game Week 18 Liverpool West Ham blank coming up. You don't want other players, being suspended, and then you're sort of starting with 10 or 9 players in Game Week 18. I've got to go Leicester, and I've got to go Liverpool. The assets that you guys know, I don't need to spoon feed you this. They're against Watford, they're against Norwich, they're in fantastic form. So I think all of them are very, very viable options, all the way from defence into attack, all the way from goalkeeper into attack, if I'm honest. Rashford, I'm going to stick with him again. I will put a clip in a moment that I did pick out Rashford just before Game Week 14, and I'll say pretty much the same thing, so I'll just play it now. So moving on players to pick. So my first one here is going to be Marcus Rashford, and it's more of a 1 week punt now for me. So 8.6 million, 15.1% ownership. But I'll be looking at this player more seriously sort of from Game Week 17. But Rashford has been flying right under the radar. He's got 7 goals and 4 assists in the Premier League this season. And in his last 5 game weeks, he's got 9 points, 9 points, 2 points, 5 points, 11 points. And now he sits as the 3rd best striker in FPL right now, joint with Aubameyang, and ahead of the likes of Aguero, Firmino, Salah, and Sterling. All for 8.6 million and around 15% ownership. I think that makes him a very, very good differential. Granted, United are hugely inconsistent, but the likes of, I'm going to say Martial as well as Rashford here, they're nailed on players, and I only see the team improving when Paul Pogba comes back. And they face Aston Villa at home this weekend, and I see Rashford having a pretty good game week. And ever since then, he's done pretty well as well. So Rashford is going to be a pick for this game week. Really good form, looking good. United in a little bit of form, beating Spurs, beating Man City. Let's just see if they're going to revert back to having that sort of horrible, awkward period when they're... I think, what was it, Mark Goldbridge had tweeted something like, "We are Robin Hood. We steal points from the top teams and give them to the poor teams," kind of thing. I'm going to suggest Tammy Abraham. You can see in the differential sections, Willian. I've banged the Willian drum a few times this season. But I'm going to stick with Willian and Abraham because of their home tie against the Bournemouth side that's riddled with injuries at the back and a team that keeps conceding. And Chelsea are going to want to bite back and fast because they were keeping up with the big boys this season. January's coming. I believe they can sign players again, so players are sort of fighting for their place a little bit more now that they can bring in new talent. And I just feel that they'll do pretty well against Bournemouth this game week. Jack Grealish, he looks like he's so key to Aston Villa, and Aston Villa are about to have a really, really nice run of fixtures. They've had a horrible run of fixtures so far. But game week 17, they've got Sheffield United away, which isn't ideal, but this is a similar point to what I said about the likes of Dele Alli and Rashford, people like that. I said, maybe get them in a week early and see sort of how they do. But after Sheffield United away, they've got Southampton, Norwich, Watford, Burnley. So that is a nice 4-run fixture, and he is so key. He's like I've talked about talisman a lot in the stream and the last week's video, but he's like a talisman for Aston Villa. Everything runs through him, so he is a suggestion. And the last pick of the week is going to be Ward-Prowse at Southampton. He's by far their their second top scorer. It's like Ings is on 84, then Ward-Prowse is on 59, and then everyone after that is in like the 30s. So Ward-Prowse, in the last few game weeks, it's 5-9-5-1. So I know he blanked against Newcastle, but they did come from behind to beat them, which wasn't ideal. But you know, he's under 6 million, so if he's your fourth or fifth man in midfield, he's a decent enabler. He has played 90 minutes all season, every game that's so far this season, and they're playing West Ham, who again keep leaking goals, and they're at home, and then they're away to Aston Villa. So a couple of decent fixtures, but he's a pretty good enabler, and he's only owned by 2.1%. So that's going to be it for this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and take some stuff or information from it. Let me know in the comments below, who are you going to be captaining this game week? It's a really, really tough one. You've got Liverpool, and you've got Leicester too. You can even throw Chelsea into the mix there, at home to Bournemouth. 3 really strong fixtures there for you to captain this game week. Let me know who you're going for. Are you sticking with the man Jamie Vardy? Are you going to go over to Merseyside and pick up on the likes of Mo Salah or Mane? Does that early kickoff put you off? A lot of people get put off by an early kickoff, especially because if they blank the rest of the weekend, it's just bloody awful watching all the other players do really well. Or are you going to take a punt on Chelsea? The likes of Pulisic, he's blanked. Could he be back? Abraham. I think the safe bet is going to be with Liverpool or Leicester. If you're going to back one of those two teams, and one or both blank, I don't think you can argue saying that it was a poor decision, because I think they're the best options in game week. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, have a good one.